It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationship with the University of Miami.
Another good block, and Toretto lays it out.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
Look at you. What the heck are you wearing?
Hey, it's my, hold on, it's my, there it is. Bam! I decided to sport it a little bit
This is
tonight.
the Lamar Thomas Show, not the senior prom.
This is my Sports Hall of Fame, University of Miami Sports Hall of Fame. So it's a good mood. I'm in a good mood, and it started on Saturday on the day after Thanksgiving, or whatever it was. It seemed like it was years ago, but what a win by the Miami Hurricanes.
Yep, and you got to follow it up by going to the Iron Bowl. How about that?
I did. But we're talking about the Hurricanes here tonight. We got a lot to dive into tonight, Gary.
So much, man. So much. It's been just, I'm trying to catch my breath here. It has been like, you have no idea what today's been like between the portal. They just flipped the top defensive tackle in America, Lamar, into the Miami recruiting class, surged into the top 10 with 3 weeks to go. This could be a top 5 recruiting class again if they flip one or two more kids. You've got the running back at St. Thomas, Jordan Lyle. He's very high in the rankings. Jeremiah Smith, you know, the receiver at Chaminade. They are, you know, he's getting the full court press for the next 3 weeks. If they can flip one or two more of these guys, they're gonna have a top 5 recruiting class coming from nowhere. LT, and listen, this is a program that's gone through some tough moments. Not a textbook season this year by any stretch of the imagination. But if they can make a surge in recruiting here these last few weeks between the portal and traditional high school recruiting, it'll put a feel-good atmosphere around the program going into the new year, LT.
Oh, it definitely will. You know, if they can squeeze some of these recruits and get this, and, you know, I'm thinking around the country, there'll be a lot of Miami hate, a lot of haterade because, oh, what are they doing down there? They were 7-5 or 8-5 after bowl game or whatever, and they were able to pull this type of recruiting class. A lot of hating going on. Lots.
I just had to change my background there. I realized, wait a minute, I'm missing Caneswear. This is the Lamar Thomas Show, presented by Caneswear. LT is usually in Caneswear, but tonight he is not. Looks like he is in the palatial estate of the Thomases, And I like that brick wall you got behind you there, LT. That looks pretty nice. And,
well, if I wasn't in South Florida, it'd probably be a fireplace.
well, we welcome everybody in once again on Wednesday night. Lamar Thomas Show, like I said, presented by CaneSport, your headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes shopping needs. It's holiday season. You got to have friends, family members, kids that you want to load up with Canes gear. CaneSport is the place to go do that. You can visit their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or you can shop them online 24 hours a day at caneswear.com. So make sure you check them out for all your holiday shopping needs. We're also sponsored by the Florida Beach Bowl, which now is, I guess, about 2.5 weeks away at Drive Pink Stadium. That brand new bowl game for historically Black colleges. We'll tell you more about that later in the show. The law firm of Ratson and Faxadomo, your go-to place. If you ever get in any type of trouble, they are aggressive criminal defense lawyers. They will take care of you if you need them to get you out of a little bit of a jam. We've got Life Athletics, which is where I tell you every week, Lamar's wife used to go get bruised, but now we're told that she delivers the punishment at that gym, that CrossFit training gym in Cooper City. You can check them out if you want to get in real shape. And guys, Lamar will be the first to tell you the ratio of men to women there is unbelievable. If you're a single guy, not a married guys can't go to Life Athletics. But if, Lamar, he's forbidden from showing up there, even though his wife's there. But if you're a guy and, you want to get yourself buff in the right environment, so to speak, you can go check out Life Athletics in Cooper City. And then there's Williamson Cadillac, where Lamar goes to get all his automobiles, and Jermaine Chambers is in the business department there, the finance department, and he will hook you up with a great deal on a new Cadillac if you would like. And if not, he'll hook you up with the right sales guy, one or the other, if he doesn't sell it to you himself. So Williamson Cadillac is your go-to spot for all your automotive needs as well. Right now, though, this is your spot for Canes Talk. We're going to do this show a little bit differently tonight. Lamar and I were talking earlier in the day, and we're like, wow, man, there's just so much to talk about. Tyler Van Dyke going into the transfer portal. You got a bowl game coming up. What else? Guys making decisions on whether to go to the NFL, portal quarterbacks, so many topics, the bowl possibilities. So we decided we're going to take the first part of tonight's show rather than bring on a guest, and we're going to talk about all these different subjects. And you guys that are watching, we want you to participate in the comments section. If you got any questions for Lamar or myself, you can just post them in the comments section on YouTube, and we will touch on all those topics as well as we go along. But LT, Boston College, nice hurricane way to end the regular season. I thought it was one of their classier performances of the year. The final score was 45-20. You just take a look at the stat sheet of this game, and it was complete, utter domination. Miami rushed for 242 yards. They threw for 250. So that's 532 yards of total offense. Boston College had 294. So very nice final regular season performance by the Canes. Might have taken a little while for it to come, LT, but I know it gave you a pretty good feeling as you were driving up there to Alabama to watch the Iron Bowl the next day. You felt good about your Canes.
Oh yeah, I definitely felt good. That probably after the Georgia Tech game, that's probably the best I've felt. And going into this bowl game, but what a performance by the Hurricanes. They're able to play a game. I would say it wasn't a complete game, but they were able to do a lot of different things that we've been asking for, or we've been asking about all year long. And Tyler played a heck of a game on his way out, but he played a heck of a game. And run game, the offensive line played a great game. I thought the running backs played a game. The receivers, Restrepo, man, can't say enough about him. Tight ends even chipped in somewhat, did some good stuff. And on defense, to stop that quarterback, he was kind of reminded me of the quarterback we had here a couple years ago. He was hard to stop. And Mario and that staff, Gidry, they didn't stop him, but they pretty much contained him, and he could have done a lot of damage. So it was a good job. It started off a little rough, Boston College drives down the field, probably a scripted game plan, and they just drive down the field and score. And then Miami had to show resilience and come back and tie it up. But we've been saying this all year long. It is a different team than what we've seen, what we saw last year. Last year, team goes down and score. You're saying, "Oh, here we go." But this team fought. They fought and they fought, and for it to come down to that Boston College game, we're a little bit of chill in the air. We've always had problems playing up there, especially when it gets a little chilly for us kids from Florida. We don't really play well, but I thought they played pretty darn good, and I had a lot of Hurricanes excited about what they saw in that last game.
So Tyler Van Dyke puts 2 back-to-back games together to end the season, but I don't think they wanted to go another year like this, Lamar. And I'm not sure he had a choice whether to come back or not. I know he's in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make sense from either side, really. I mean, if you're Mario, after the way the last 2 years have went, now you're in year 3. The fan base is getting a little restless. Mm-hmm. You want to maintain the support of the administration. You got to win games, and to go into a third year with the same situation at quarterback. He's been hurt 2 years in a row, so he's showing a propensity for potentially being injury prone. He had I'll just say mental issues in the middle of the season that really hurt him this year. And they really couldn't go another year, especially when you factor in the NIL money that he's getting paid with Tyler Van Dyke as the starting quarterback, no matter how well those last 2 games went. But it was nice to see him go out in the right way. Now he's in the portal. I think coming off those 2 performances, he's going to be a hot commodity in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, some team will pick him up. Hell, he might even Boston College. Some of the teams that he was able to do well against might even Louisville. I mean, there's just a lot of possibilities for the young man. Everything you said was right on point. He just, to his defense, though, having 3 different coordinators, and that has to be tough, especially when we talked earlier off air. We're talking about the Molly. I don't even know her last name, but the interview that she was talking about as far as Molly McGrath.
Yeah.
Yes. And what she was able to get out of that interview as far as, he and the coordinator. I mean, how many times did we hear that at the end of the season? He and the coordinator had to sit down and say, hey, what plays do you want and what plays do you not want? I mean, that's supposed to be from day one. You don't just, maybe last year, I could say maybe with the last coordinator, he probably said, this is what you're supposed to run, or this is what I want to run. But most smart coordinators are going to let their quarterback feel good about what plays are being called. I mean, I've seen one of the greatest quarterbacks do that with Gary Stevens and other coordinators, Dan Marino. There are plays he wanted, and there are plays he didn't feel comfortable running. And you're supposed to let your quarterback have that type of feeling. I mean, what he was basically saying, what I got out of that interview was that, hey, there were a lot of plays in there that he didn't want the option at the end. He wanted it black and white to tell him exactly what to do. And if it breaks down, then maybe, but he wanted black and white decisions, and he didn't want a lot of options into it. And, it looked good. It looked good, but I can tell you this, they finally were able to use a lot of motion. I saw that in the game, and we've been asking for that. Even the dumbest football fan knows that, you can tell man or zone. It gives a quarterback a little, unless you're going against some defensive guru who's already set it up. But most of the time, it is a true fact that if a guy goes running with the guy in motion, they're in man.
Yeah, right. Well, it didn't work, but we also saw about a season's worth of passes in one game to the tight ends.
Yeah.
In the Boston College game. That was interesting.
Well, they did a lot. They did some things of mesh routes. They did a couple of different things with the tight end. For a while, I thought he was a tackle. You know, we basically forgot about the tight end this year. And but you know, again, it was a great game to, I won't say end the season, but to go into your bowl practices with a little edge or a little momentum.
And recruiting. I mean, they just flipped the top defensive tackle in America, Justin Scott, from Ohio State to Miami, a kid out of the Chicago area who they had been doing very well with, and they thought they were going to get a commitment from him 4 or 5 months ago. His mom put the kibosh on that, and they had to spend the last several months working mom. Mom finally said, okay, Justin, you got my blessing. Go to Miami. And now he flipped from Ohio State to Miami, and that's a big moment for them in recruiting. And a guy that I know is real fired up about that because he loves to follow recruiting, and that is the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner. Bruce, the Canes fan is euphoric tonight. Even you have got to be, yes, at that flip.
And there's a lot of QBs in that portal now, including Riley Leonard from Duke.
He's going to go to Notre Dame
he's probably going to Notre Dame. I don't know if we're going to get them. We have the funds for the kid from Washington State. He's real good. I'd love to get him. I know. And the Kansas State kid, you mentioned him, and he's your pick. I like that kid too. I think we need somebody like that. He's one of the guys.
Well, I can tell you this. Yes. Whoever we get, I want to have at least 2 or 3 of them, because what we saw, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, you know, an injury happens, and what you're stuck with walk-ons, you don't want that.
No, I think we're going to get 2. I do. I don't know if one's going to be one will be a surefire starter, and the other one will be definitely a guy who could be a backup and come in and make a difference. So yeah, it's exciting. Now we know Jacory's going to play in the bowl game, which is a big deal. Look, he has you would know this, Lamar. He's got a big upside.
Yeah,
we haven't seen it, but you can tell. I mean, he reminds me of the Texas quarterback.
Right? I knew you were going to say that.
Because he had a funky throwing motion. And
are you talking about Vince Young?
Yes, because this kid, he's not a pure passer. Neither was Vince Young. What are you laughing about? I'm just talking about his potential.
Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot, man.
Look, he does have a big upside. He could do a lot of damage. If he could learn how to pass, he'd be okay. It's not funny. You guys,
I can emulate Lamar's face with hearing you say that one. Yeah,
I get it. I kind of agree with it. I mean, but whew, that's.
Are you not saying? Are you saying he doesn't have an upside?
No. I was just saying, when you throw a guy's name out there that's pretty established or had such a, a great senior year, or that's like saying a guy is compared to Dan Marino or Tom Brady. It's But I get it. He does have a lot of potential, and I've seen him practice.
Who should I pick? Casey Weldon? What other names can I throw out there that he reminds you of? He's like 6'5", 6'6". I mean, what do you want me to say?
Hey, don't you ever bring up a Florida State quarterback.
I brought it up in a mocking way.
But I get it.
So guys are making their announcements now, but the 4th is the official entry into the portal. So
but the guys that are graduates could already go in,
right? And I don't want to sound naive, but you guys must know that there's a lot of backdoor stuff going on, a lot of it with all these guys. There has to be.
Well, I guarantee you, that's just my opinion. I don't know this for certain because I'm not in college football right now, but I guarantee you, nothing is text.
Oh, of course not. No, of course not.
They might even be doing old pigeon carriers around here.
No, everything's FaceTime. All recruiting takes place on FaceTime.
Yeah. But there has to be, because if it comes the 4th at 8:00 in the morning, somebody commits, damn well something was going on.
Yeah.
But I just hope Mario doesn't sit around and wait. I hope he's, between him and Alonzo, they've got their guys picked out and the money that they're really willing to do. and there's a pecking order, and I hope they're aggressive in this.
Well, I can tell you this, Bruce. I don't think Mario will sit around because that's his deal. That's his baby. He's not a X and O's guy. He's a recruiter and he is a grinder. Those are his words. So this is his season. You have your season, but his season is about recruiting, getting guys in there, getting the right guys, as he says, in there. And so we want to find out what Mario is all about.
Right. And we heard that Chance Robinson's staying and he's not interested in going to Ohio State. So that's a win in recruiting. It takes, we don't want to keep hearing these names. I'm going to go up here. I'm going there. So that's good news too. And
they got a chance to flip Jordan Lyle, the running back from St. Thomas. Great chance of doing that from Ohio State. Things are looking good.
It looks good. Look, who wouldn't want to be the quarterback here with that offensive line, with those stable of running backs? I mean, they may get a big-time receiver in here, then their offense is ready to go. We're ready to go. And you saw what happened with Arroyo in the game. He caught a little pass and he went up the field. They need this kid healthy next year in the worst way. Because he could make plays. He's going to have single coverage the entire game. No one's going to be chasing after him with a safety.
I also want to see a hurry-up offense.
Yes.
So that when they need it, it's there, ready to go.
Well, we talked about that numerous times about them having a hurry-up offense, ready to go, and changing the pace of the game. That's what it's all about. The really good coordinators can change the pace of a game at the drop of a dime, whether they need to go 2-minute offense, 4-minute offense, or just change the tempo at some point just to put that pressure on the defensive coordinator so he can't feel comfortable calling what he's used to calling.
Well, that's what happened to us with North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We got caught with our pants down, and they had no adjustment for it for the entire second half. We could do the same thing.
They didn't have success doing that to anybody else really to that degree the whole year. It's amazing that they caught us with that. And it was so effective.
Well, I just wonder how much money it's back in the day. Everybody used to say, even now, people was, oh man, y'all been getting paid for a minute. No, we wasn't getting paid. I mean, not this type of money.
Not that. Other ways, like in paper bags and stuff like that.
I miss my paper bag.
Matt Rule, the Nebraska coach, comes out today, and they're struggling to have enough NIL money. I think it is getting pretty expensive, LT. And he comes out and he says, to get a good quarterback this year, it's going to cost $1.5 or $2 million. And everybody else around there in college football that's recruiting quarterbacks almost had a freaking heart attack.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Matt Rule, you're trying to drive up the market and make all of us go broke so that when we're done buying quarterbacks, we got no money left, and then you can just walk up with your little
$50,000 quarterback
and start driving people up. He's trying to make people pay $1.5–2 million for quarterbacks. That's insane.
I love Matt Rule, man. He's a hell of a dude. I actually got a chance to meet with him and talk to him. I actually was when I was at Louisville, there was an opportunity where he wanted to make me his passing game coordinator, but he said he couldn't afford me. And I remember going to Coach Petrino saying, Coach, I have this opportunity in front of me to maybe go to go with Matt Rule. He said, who the F is Matt Rule?
Hey, he's in Arkansas now, your buddy.
That's why I was segueing into that. Congratulations to Coach Petrino being able to go back to.
Crazy is that, though, man?
Hey, man. But let me tell you something.
They ran him out of town on his orders. Now they're taking back his offensive coordinator.
Listen, people change rules all the time. Remember, Jeff Long was the AD, and he banned Petrino, but they changed the rule. They need a coordinator. I mean, you see it happen all the time. Even at Kentucky, they had a nepotism law that you're not supposed to. But guess who's on their staff? Another Stoops. And their way around it was saying Stoops does not report to Stoops. Stoops reports to the defensive coordinator.
Right. Speaking of which, Mark Stoops turns down Texas A&M. That was
well, we don't really know. My little insiders that are close to the big money people, the way I heard it went down was basically the AD offered Stoops the job, Stoops accepted, and they were So all of a sudden, all these big money donors said, we don't want that Stoops. If it's going to be a Stoops, it's got to be Bob Stoops. He ain't done nothing, and we don't want this guy. And the fans were going nuts, so they had to retract it. And of course, Stoops comes out and says, "Hey, you know what? I love Kentucky, and and I'm a Wildcat for life." So,
but these
Texas
people,
A&M, when you got money like that, whew.
But these people running college football they're out of their minds, Lamar. All
Yep.
right, so Mark Stoops, who's been a coach at Kentucky now for a dozen years or whatever,
Mhm.
he's done a decent job there.
Mhm.
He's
A
not
decent
worthy of coming to your program in College Station, Texas, because he's not his brother Bob. But you're going to go get Mike Elko, who's been a head coach for what, 2 years?
2 years, I think. Mhm.
Yeah,
But
2 years. Been a head coach for 2 years at Duke.
But he was at Texas A&M before,
True,
so that gave him a little insight.
But that don't mean a thing when it comes to being a head coach.
I personally thought they were going to take the guy from UTSA only because he was a legendary high school coach there in Texas. So he has the connections. But they end up going with Elko because it just seems like they wanted to go after the splash hire instead of the other time.
I don't see how Elko's a splash hire. I just don't.
It's
I mean,
not, but you know what? I didn't think he did work at Duke, and he did a pretty damn good job.
Tommy Tuberville was the defensive coordinator at Miami. Should we go make him the head coach here now, Lamar?
Don't bring that guy up.
His racist self that's in the Senate?
And the military people hate him. So let's not bring that name up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so just because you've been at a play, like I think it's unbelievable because they throw so much money around there.
Yes, they do. Not only for those coaches, but look at all the players they got, and they really haven't done that much. Those kids.
Well, I don't think Mike Elko has a living prayer in that SEC,
well,
the new SEC. Right. Coming in as a very inexperienced head coach with not a lot of juice.
Hey Gary, if I'm Mike Elko and I hear you say that, I would shoot you the middle finger and say, "Who cares, bro? Fire me."
Hey, send me to the farm like Jimbo with $75 million.
Yeah.
All right. So the Boston College game, I think we all agree, was a great way to end the season. Let's shift gears. Talk a little bit about Tyler Van Dyke. LT, we've watched this kid now for several years through the ups and downs. Any feelings seeing him leave and not being able to finish his college career?
It was almost like this year. It was kind of like he didn't want to be here. That's just my opinion. Now, it just didn't seem like he was in a good feeling here and mentally So if that's the case, I like the fact that he was able to do something on his way out, but I just don't know if for that type of money or whatever type of money he was getting, that there was going to be a great return on it next year. Like you said earlier, he had been hurt the last 2 years. Did we want to go into the season with a guy that's been hurt, had mental issues, and but on the flip side of that, kind of would have liked for him to see him with a coordinator 2 years in a row. Maybe they would have got some type of understanding, especially with that line, especially with those receivers, and a little bit of what tight end in the running game, but I'm not sad about it. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he put it out there. I'm happy that he'll get an opportunity to go somewhere else. I mean, that's what college football is today. It's like a one-hit free agency deal.
Yeah, but LT, Gary and I, we all three have talked about what was going on last year and his preseason predictions and people blowing smoke. Well, after he was 4-0 this year, you better believe that smoke was blowing really hard. And after that game, until Boston College, his head was in the same place they were blowing the smoke. It just didn't look right. And then in the last game, when the pressure's off and he knows he's probably leaving, he goes out there and has the best game since the game against Texas A&M. Why do you have two games like that, and what happened in between? What happened to this kid?
Well, we can also say this. You think about and I often think about it. And my guys that were my teammates often think about it. I couldn't imagine having that type of bread in Miami. There's all kind of things. I mean, you're asking a 20, 21-year-old, I don't even know how old he is, but you're asking him to be the leader of a squad when you're getting paid X amount of dollars. And it had to be a lot a lot on the plate. That you have to grow up really fast, and we expect quarterbacks to be leaders in a way of your team. And it just hit rock bottom at one point, and we had fans on him, and who knows, the kid probably just shut down mentally and said, "Hey, man, I don't want to deal with this." And watching him on the sidelines with his teammates, it just was an odd type of deal. Maybe he is a great teammate. I'm not sure, but from an outside eye, you have to ask yourself, like, what was going on inside that program with him and inside his head. So,
yeah, but he had the off season to get healthy, and he did. He worked hard. They came out. They won 4 games. His best game was against A&M. He lit them up, 49 points. And we were down, 10 points or 14 points in that game? But then how do you translate that to the following week against Georgia Tech? Because they ran it too deep?
He got the Simone Biles. Yippies, I told you.
What I tell you? Do not mention his name in the same breath as Simone Biles. Use somebody else.
I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Nadia Comaneci, somebody like, I don't know who. But don't you say Simone Biles. She's the GOAT.
How do you explain it, though?
He froze. He couldn't perform. He couldn't read a defense. He couldn't do anything anymore. Just like that.
Hey, but A&M game, he was incredible. He was ripping guys off. He was hitting guys wide open.
Incredible 2 days before the same thing happened to her.
Listen,
she couldn't do it.
Get away from her, Gary. The people are going to play you out.
Do you know
how many even have the control?
You know how many thousands and thousands of times Simone Biles practiced those gymnastics routines, and then she gets to the biggest meet of her life and suddenly can't twist? I mean, I can't explain it. I'm not a brain maven or anything.
That's obvious.
I feel good if I can keep my brain working. But like,
look what he did to A&M, Gary.
Yeah.
7 days later, he takes a dump. Look at that. Why?
Right. Simone was the best gymnast in the history of the sport 2 days before she got
touchdown passes.
She called them the twisties. Like she couldn't feel herself moving in space. Lamar, you spent half your life playing daddy daycare at the gymnastics gym up there in Broward. Like, you watch these gymnasts, how do you suddenly not know how to twist?
And they practice a lot, and it's very expensive, I tell you that. But they practice all day. But to compare his situation with Simone Biles, who has won thousands of meets, and he ain't won nothing except he ain't won no national championships. Hell, did he even win a high school championship? We don't know. But I can tell you this: as you were talking, a thought popped up in my head about South Florida. Tate Martell. What happened to him? He fell in love with an Instagram model. Who knows what happened in the guy's personal life? We don't know. I mean, South Florida ain't for everybody. As we've well seen over the years, it has ruined people that have come down here, whether in the pros or college or whatever. South Florida is a different animal in itself, and you have to be able to somehow navigate, stay in Coral Gables as much as possible.
It's pretty obvious. He either had some really damn good games or he was pretty bad. He had very little in the middle. Very little. And that's just not consistent, which is what this team needs, a consistent quarterback.
I think the pressure got to him. He couldn't handle the pressure, the expectations. Getting an agent, getting all those NIL deals didn't help that situation. And he just didn't manage it all very well mentally.
Yeah.
Those same kids played hard for Emory Williams 2 times.
Yeah.
They played hard for him.
So I'll tell you, what's his future? What level of quarterback do you think he is? Where does Tyler Van Dyke land? Does he land at like an FAU, like N'Kosi Perry did? FAU wants him bad. I got some calls on that today. FAU is recruiting Tyler Van Dyke like there's no tomorrow. They are begging and pleading with him to come to FAU. There was some scuttlebutt that Louisville, looking for a quarterback, might be interested in him. What's his level? Where does he go? What's he do?
Well, I personally think he's a little above FAU. Just FAU has their own issues. I know I've heard they had like 13 dudes that are hitting the portal, so they got a lot of issues there. I think he has to look at that also. I mean, do you want to go somewhere where you're not going to win? You get your head beaten. You don't have a team around you. You got to go somewhere where you got a team around you where you have an opportunity to win too. If I'm gonna lead a team, I want to lead a team of good players, not just a bunch of walk-ons. Because so I would think for him, I think he is a Power 5 kid. It's just depending on what offense or what team, to hear him say he didn't want options, he didn't want, things to break down, and all that other stuff. That tells me that he needs to maybe go to like a Big Ten school or something. Maybe a Penn State.
They lose Dylan Gabriel, I think. So they have a pretty good team. They have talent.
Somebody's going to want him.
Yeah, somebody will want him. I think a Power 5 will want him.
Yeah, I think just like Mayday Kane said, a school up north. But
I don't think he wants to go up north.
Somebody said UConn. I think he's above that. Unless they're paying him some of that basketball money.
I could see a Louisville taking him, a Duke taking him. One of those. They're all looking for quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Everybody.
Leonard's out of Duke. Why not? Yeah.
Rutgers.
Right. So they boot Tyler Van Dyke out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
You are not welcome here anymore, sir. And they cut a deal with Ja'Carri Brown,
mm-hmm.
who still continues to consider the portal. He's got people that are weighing his different options as well. See who's interested in him. But in the meantime, he suddenly has some interesting marketability. He's the only quarterback in the building that can actually still throw right now and compete. And they need somebody to run the show for the bowl game.
Yeah.
And so they cut a deal of
mm-hmm.
some type. I think we have a pretty good idea of what that was. And now the king of NIL in the room is Ja'Carri Brown, mm-hmm. and he's going to be the quarterback for the bowl game, Lamar. What do you think about that?
Well, that's all we got. I think he's the only one that's getting free steaks. The other ones are paying for their steaks. So, I'm just hoping that he's able to stay healthy and have a good game. I mean, he's going to make supposedly some money on this game. I mean, how crazy is this?
Crazy.
What
if he wouldn't stay to quarterback the bowl game? Mario doesn't want to mail this thing in. He wants to win the damn bowl game.
Right. The great thing about bowl games is that you get extra practices.
Yeah.
And that helps those younger guys. I can recall, I was talking to a couple of my teammates today, and we were talking about that when we were freshmen, going to the Orange Bowl, but those practices before we took the break, before we came back for the week of practice, I mean, it was so good for your confidence because you've been on scout team the whole time being just a hitting dummy or a tackling dummy. And then all of a sudden you get an opportunity to really showcase and really, I can remember being out there going, man, I don't even know these plays. And they kind of, guys were helping you and the coaches say, hey, you got to dig on this. But it was great because it felt like we were part of the team actually. And you're getting your chance, your audition. And some of these kids, they need that audition. They need that opportunity to show the coaches what they can do.
Gary, the guys that are already entering the portal or the guys that are going to be entering the portal, but there are guys that could play in this bowl game that might not. Mm-hmm. Do you have any sense who that might be? I mean, if you're some of these guys, would you sit out?
There's still time.
Javian Cohn, would you play? The left guard, Javian Cohn. Would you play?
No, he won't play in the ball game.
Right. He's not going to play.
I'd be shocked. He's going to the NFL draft. He's almost certainly not going to play in the ball game.
And the two safeties probably won't play either, right? Who? The safeties aren't going to play either.
You will probably not see either one of those guys, though. James Williams is still weighing his options.
But what this does, though, this gives Mario an opportunity and that coaching staff an opportunity to see the future. We know what those guys did and what they could do, but the nature of the beast is now, it's a bowl game, and if it ain't in the top four or New Year's Day bowl, people don't care. They're it's not that big of a deal for these kids.
Well, we care though.
But I tell you this: if I'm these kids now,
man, we care. I don't want to go 7-6.
I get it, but for the players, which I'm like shocked at, man, why are you turning down that bowl gear?
Right.
I mean, that bowl gear is nice. That's the nicest stuff you get the whole year. But you're gonna turn it down and get in the portal. I mean, it's a weird. This is all weird, man. This whole transfer portal, black hole type of deal. You know, some of these guys are gonna go there and they're gonna get their face handed to them. Some of these players, only a couple, they're gonna get their face handed to them because they're gonna think that, you know, they're sought after like they were coming out of high school. Well, guess what? There are a lot of guys that are sought after that are in that portal, in that black hole.
Well, now you gotta, well, first thing I'll say is Mario has made it very clear that the days of Miami mailing in bowl games are over. Like, he believes that you go to a bowl game, you take care of business, you prepare to win, and you win the bowl game and give yourself a stepping stone into the offseason. And I agree with him. Like, I like that way better than the alternative. And I think it also helps to have kids that are invested in playing hard, even if it is your second string players, because you can see where they are in their development and what they need to work on before you get into fall camp of the next season. So that's all good. But this Ja'Cory Brown situation is really unique because he's going to play the bowl game. He could still go to the portal after the bowl game, but he decided that, you know, to seize on this opportunity to quarterback the bowl game. It's kind of like an audition for him. But in the meantime, Miami, for the next couple weeks, is out recruiting quarterbacks in the transfer portal. And there's a very good chance that before they take the field in the bowl game, they're going to have one or two transfer quarterbacks already in the fold, already signed to come basically be starting quarterback for next year, while Ja'Cory is auditioning in the bowl game.
Yeah, one of the questions, Gary, was if we get a portal transfer, is he eligible to play? The answer is no.
No portal transfers in the bowl game. But what do you think of that, Lamar? That's kind of an interesting scenario.
That is very interesting because what if, you know, you go out and get this top quarterback and spending this dime on this top quarterback and this kid does well? You know what we got going on here. I mean, this is
competition. That's what it's called. Competition. And your guys never shy away from competition. Yeah. Good. That's good.
So you're not signing, you know, Will Rogers or one of these top transfer portal quarterbacks to be a backup. Let's be honest.
No.
So Ja'Cory would have to, if he stays, has to have the understanding, I'm competing with Emory to be the backup.
Right.
I'm competing with Emory. I'm competing with whoever comes in here.
Judd Anderson, the other freshman.
Judd Anderson too, right.
I mean, this is you're looking at that quarterback room and you're saying, I should never have to pay for a drink. You know what I mean? If I'm a receiver, a lineman, a running back, or anything, because it's going down. I mean, they're basically going to be the kings of the team as far as moolah. So I mean, but again, this is some uncharted water here. I mean, the world of college football now has changed drastically.
Oh God, it's so good.
You know, I blame a lot of this on the NCAA for not being smart enough to see it coming. I think the guys tried to warn them. The guys that were already paying under the table tried to warn them because they didn't want to catch up with the equal out the playing field. But man, it takes a lot, and some of the bigger schools are going to obviously, it's going to be good for them. But I tell you what, some of these smaller schools, and we've seen these schools. Let's look at teams like Duke and these teams that all of a sudden showed up this year. Because guess what? Guys are saying, well, if I leave this program, I can go to this program. And if you get enough of good players in there, you can change the whole culture. I mean, Duke looked like an entirely different team. Like, you know, that maybe they might have brought down the standards a little bit academically because it was a lot of guys out there that I was like, hey, he's there. So, you know, it's just a different day and age for college football.
Can I shift gears for a second? I want your opinion, LT. I want you to talk about the wide receiver group as a group and individually. Do you really think that Colby Young has the ability to really step it up? I thought he was going to do it this year. He had his moments, but he's sometimes not missing in action. What are your thoughts on the receivers?
Well, he needs to learn how to be consistent. I mean, he made some plays for you. I mean, he's a big kid.
Yeah.
Standing next to him, man, he is huge. And, you know, but he's kind of like, I would take him. over the kid from Florida State, not the Keon, the other big tall kid, Wilson, who turned out to be inconsistent too.
Yeah, he had a
but
lot of problems.
they give you an opportunity, bigger catch radius. You saw on the play at Boston College, they put everything over on the right side, and he was on the backside. Didn't even run a good route, but because he was such a big body, I was texting Gary during the game, and I was like, that was a horrible route. But he was able to make the play because he's so much bigger than everybody else. He just needs to be seasoned a little bit, and I trust Beard and Cooney, and they'll get it done this summer. He just needs to just learn how to be more consistent. My whole thing was practice while you're tired. Practice while you're tired, because what that does is, my old coach Robert Ford used to always have this saying: fatigue makes a coward of us all. So
hell of a receivers coach.
And so when you're tired, your brain, so you're training your brain that when I'm tired, I'm gonna make this play. I'm gonna concentrate regardless, and it helps.
They say Colby Young can't get off the line of scrimmage, can't beat press coverage. I don't understand that.
A big guy like that, you would think that he would be physical at the line. I got to sit down and watch it a little bit more, because I didn't really see that much. And I've seen Beard and those guys working on releases and stuff like that. So, if that's his issue, obviously this summer will be big for him, because if you have any inclination or any opportunity to go to the NFL, if they see that or they know that, you're not going to be successful at all. And he's
the other Isaiah Horton, he's got an upside too, but he's had 2 years here and hasn't done much.
Well, he's shown up a couple times, but not on a scale like George is showing up and Young. He should get his opportunity now, especially during this bowl game, to be able to show us what he can do.
Mm-hmm. And Restrepo, is he going to stay?
I hope he stays. I mean, I enjoy watching him. I enjoy talking to him.
Yeah.
Because to me, he embodies the old school as far as coming to work with that lunch pail. He's out there doing the dirty work. He understands that he sees other guys getting all this stuff, and he is focused on his goal. His goal has always been to be able to do some great things for his family, make the NFL, and he is very focused on that. And you know what? I think he's the ultimate teammate too. I talk to him, I listen to him, and he's all about this team being great and putting his own personal, stuff aside. I mean, after the Florida State, I think it was the game the Florida State game, or before the Florida State, he was talking about how, he was a little down about, not getting the ball. And I said, hey, that's called respect, man. When you're the best, when you're the guy that the quarterback is looking for and the other team knows it, they're going to double you, man. They're going to double and triple team you. That's being smart. So it's all about respect. And you have to be the biggest cheerleader for those other guys, because if they make plays, then you're going to have to play you back normal and give you an opportunity to make plays.
But his numbers were so different when Tyler Van Dyke was the quarterback than when Emory Williams was the quarterback. So the question, Lamar, is does he stay or does he follow Tyler wherever Tyler goes?
That's kind of dicey, because you don't know where he's going. And, he has a great fan base his family's down here, and he's already shown what he can do. Obviously, he's waiting to see what type of, I would think as a coordinator, knowing I got this guy coming back, I'm going to try to feature all those guys, give them an opportunity in the offseason, say, hey, this is what I wanted you to do. This is what we're going to plan for you next year. I watched Mario's press conference. Man, he was so nice and he was so congratulatory, and he was so he had all these great things to say about all these guys, and we understand why. Because at the end of the day, these guys have to make a decision whether they want to be back, and so he has to say all those great things about each and every kid, and it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, put it that way. Very interesting.
What shocks me, Gary, is on your site, There are a lot of people that want him out of here. I don't understand it. He does all the little things. That catch he made against Boston College, diving near the goal line. He dropped the ball before. He's the ultimate competitor. How do you not want him on your team? I'm shocked at the stupidity of some of these people. He's really good.
Well, you got a lot of Madden players, man. They play Madden and they think they're coaches, and Madden is a great game. I enjoy playing Madden at 53 years old, but I know football, and that guy's a hell of a ball player, and he's a hell of a person, and we're lucky to have that guy because I think he kept that group together. That's just my opinion.
Well, you use the word consistency. I don't know if anybody's more consistent than him. He's been like that for a couple of years already. Some of these people want him out of here.
Again, we got a lot of guys that are Madden players, so.
Yeah, no doubt. So, we're obviously focused on Miami, but think about schools like Kansas State, Washington State, Duke, that all had good quarterbacks. Vanderbilt, all these schools had good quarterbacks that now no longer want to play at a team at their level. They want to go fishing for the big NIL money at the top programs where they can win. And schools like Miami, I mean, it's like going deep sea fishing, Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know yet where Miami's going to win in that battle, but it's the Wild Wild West is like they call it, and these guys, they may not make 1.5 million like Matt Rule says, but they're all going to be pretty damn wealthy by the time they're done with.
Well, the question I have for some of these guys let's say a guy that I don't even know the kid's name at Vanderbilt, but let's say he goes fishing, and do you go to a team where you're a starter? You're not gonna. I mean, are you going to go to a team to be a backup? That's the question that some of these guys, are they going for the money or are they going for the opportunity? It's going to be a lot. They're we used to call them handlers. They're not even handlers anymore. They're agents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their agents are going to be working hard because it's why do we want to go here? Are we going for the money or are we going for the opportunity? Because if you're going for the opportunity, maybe you should have stayed at Vanderbilt, because are you going to drop down lower or are you going to go up higher?
Right.
I don't know.
It's got to be a combination. Someplace he's wanted and the money's right.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It's just a crazy dynamic. And this is also the time of year that a lot of these guys are weighing whether they're ready to go into the National Football League. Cam Kitchen's probably going to go into the National Football League. James Williams strongly considering going into the National Football League. Leonard Taylor, same thing. LP, I look at all these guys and I say, these guys aren't ready for the National Football League. What are they thinking? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for a lot of them, we don't know their financial situations or their home life. Some of these guys didn't grow up with money, and there's an opportunity for them to go get what they can while they can before, some of them weigh out the whole injury factor, and they're right there. Some guys will say, hey, I'll take third round money right now. That'll put my family in a whole different situation. If you're saying I'm not going to go in the first round, that's fine, but I can go in the third round and almost still be a millionaire, I guess.
Well, look at Cam though. He got hurt pretty badly. He has to be scared of an injury. That kid.
I get it. And we can't really speak on a lot of these kids, because we don't know their situations at home. We just as fans, we have to say thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it, and hopefully good luck to you. We'll be pulling for you, but you can't really be mad at these kids for making their decisions, whether good or bad. Like, we know it might be a dumb decision, but for them, it might, again, do something great for their family.
Yeah.
It depends. I don't think Tommy Streeter's too happy.
Blast from the past. So I'll tell you, I'm just looking. Your buddy Bobby Petrino's, he's yakking it away tonight on some show or whatever. He's complaining that Jimbo Fisher wanted to keep his terminology and made Bobby Petrino learn his terminology.
Yeah, he did.
And that Bobby Petrino had to stay up late at night every night studying Jimbo Fisher's terminology to try to figure it all out. How about that?
Yeah, that's what I had heard that also, and there's some truth to it. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure.
That's just the way it goes. You know, you got two alpha males. You know,
two egomaniacs.
Jimbo's been doing it, and you know, obviously he wanted to take a little pressure off himself, but at the same time he wanted to still control. So Bobby supposedly had to learn his offense, which, you know, Bobby, his offense itself is a lot. So to have to learn that and to have to be successful. So now, you know, in the last game, they were able to do some good stuff against LSU. Yep. He really showed some things, but they lost. And now, you know, but he gets an opportunity to go back to his old stomping grounds, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I remember a couple of years ago when he went back there, first time going back, and it did. I think it was an interview, or it was a booster club. He sat down in front of the booster club, and there were some tears being shed. I mean, he basically apologized to him. But, you know, for that fan base, reading a lot, they haven't been anything since he left. Not successful. And so that's all they're holding on to. Hey, can you get us back to when we, as a football program, were being mentioned in big-time college football? You know, so they're holding on to it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, they need a quarterback like we do, and they need players. They need the offensive line like we have. We're ahead of those guys. He can't do that much magic without a quarterback.
Well, the quarterback they have was pretty good. He's weighing his options on whether he wants to stay or not.
Either, right?
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
Yeah, he is. Well, all right, LT. So you watched the Miami Hurricanes the entire season, okay? And the day after the Canes game, you got up early and you drove up to Auburn, Alabama, and you called the Auburn-Alabama game. It was a great football game. Alabama was on the ropes and pulled it out at the end. But you had a chance to watch two big-time SEC teams, and Alabama is still Alabama, okay? They may not be quite as good this year as they've been, but it's still a pretty damn good football team with some pretty darn good players. Tell us what you saw, and how does it compare to what you saw of the Miami Hurricanes this year?
Well, I can tell you this. I was very impressed with Alabama, Tommy Rees, the Alabama coordinator. You know, I saw them play early in the year, and before they basically changed their offense, and they were able to do a lot of different stuff to simplify things for their quarterback. You know, I was very impressed with them, and I was impressed with Auburn's running game. You know, the week prior, they got blown out in their stadium, kind of like what happened with us with Middle Tennessee State. You know, they got blown out by New Mexico State at home, pretty much dominated. They held the ball, they kept the ball. Auburn was a running team all year long, but decided when it got behind, because the way New Mexico State was basically limited in their possessions, that they were going to pass, and that's not their ball game. And I saw two teams basically clawed out. When they talk about rivalries, man, I could tell you this: that atmosphere is something I'd never seen like before. I mean, I've obviously playing in the Florida State game. I mean, Miami, Florida State game, and I've called the Florida State game, but that atmosphere is nuts because you got a bunch of big old dudes down there. That was true SEC football, and what a ending also, because that was the 10-year anniversary of I think his name Chris Davis returning that field goal, and then you know that was a big deal for Auburn, and now Alabama gets a play that they can show forever. Also, I mean, it's had some crazy games in that stadium. What a crazy environment.
But how do you feel Miami, from a personnel standpoint, from the look test, matches up to two SEC teams like Alabama and Auburn right now?
I think where we fall a bit is depth. And I've talked about this numerous occasions, talking to Mario when he first got here. I said, in a couple years, we're going to be really good when you get depth, because we won championships because of depth. And, you know, watching that Alabama game and watching those Auburn and Alabama guys. One guy gets hurt, another guy comes in, he's just as good. You know, as I'm looking down that depth chart and reading the bios on these guys, I'm like, wow, you know, they got a bunch of good players and they just stacked them up. And once Miami is able to do that, or when they do that, I think it'll change the whole complexion of when you talk about that culture. It's just that you got to get good players in there. You got to get a bunch of them. Gone are the days of 22 guys being able to win you a championship or get you to a conference championship. You're going to need more than that. You're going to need more good players, and you're going to need for that 30% of the time, when that 70%, when that starter plays that 30%, when that backup comes in, there's no fall off, and sometimes even better.
All right, we promised to get to questions tonight.
Yeah.
So you know, let's tackle some of these.
Woo!
Cesar Iglesias or his little baby, one or the other, want to know: can we make a Miami USC bowl game happen, Lamar? We've been seeing all sorts of crazy projections. Those two teams can meet in the Sun Bowl in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
They can meet in the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. What do you think, man? But like Miami USC bowl game, I could get into that a little bit.
You know, I would love that because they're kind of in the same situation we are. You know, as far as quarterbacks, and they got a bunch of guys that are going to be leading. You know, that's a premier matchup. You know, I would. What I'm scared of is one of those teams that are actually going to take the bowl game really, 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 really serious and go out and they're building for the future. They got 2-3 deep, and you know, because you think about it, we're going to have to play a lot of guys that haven't played all year. You know, we got to play a lot of guys that haven't really played. We will see what the future for some of these guys is going to hold, but you know, I would rather see that type of matchup than the Utah. What are some of the games that have been thrown out there? I saw Kentucky one time. I saw
SMU one time.
I saw Miami SMU.
SMU. I don't want that one.
Neither do I.
I don't either. That's a no-win.
That is not a good bowl win for us. I'm just afraid because they don't have the same type of scenarios we have. You know, they don't have. I don't think they have a lot of guys going to sit out, or a lot of guys talking about transferring. I would think their top two quarterbacks are probably going to play in this bowl game. And you think about it, we're playing the third guy, and we don't. I don't know if he plays like the third guy, but the last time I actually saw him was at Florida State 2 years ago, and it was a simplified offense that didn't look worth the crap.
Well, USC's defense is pretty bad, but then again, we're going with a quarterback who hasn't played since last year. So, you know, it evens itself out. But that would be a matchup that I think we could do well in, even with Corey Brown in there.
I think so, too. I'd take that one. What other one, Gary? Any other one?
Sean Wired wants to know, are we starting to pick apart Ohio State's class? Is there more to come? And I would say yes, there is. I think Miami's going to flip the running back, Jordan Lyle, too, from Ohio State. I wouldn't be shocked if Brandon Innes, the receiver that left a year ago to go Ohio State, wants to come back home in the portal either, because he didn't get to do a whole heck of a lot up there.
He played in the Michigan game, but he didn't do much this year.
Yeah.
Wow. You think about this.
Jeremiah Smith probably going there, which will lower him even more.
You think about this. I mean, Ryan Day, you know, being on the hot seat.
Yeah.
With the we're talking about winning record. We're not talking about a guy that's 12-12 or whatever. Some of these coaches around here, even our coach, we're talking about a guy that consistently, and we're not even talking about a Mark Richt. You know, we're talking about a guy that all the time was competing for a championship. I don't know if one year they didn't compete, maybe COVID year, but other than that, they were always competing for a championship. And because he can't beat one team, all the naysayers out, and some of the kids are flipping and flopping. I mean, college football is crazy, right?
It's crazy. It's so ridiculous. The guy's a great coach. Look what's going on there. They're putting guys in the NFL, and he's getting to rebuild, and he rebuilds, and he's not losing seasons. He's losing underclassmen. The wide receiver class has been incredible. Yeah. The running backs are out of it. The linemen are out. And how could he be in a hot seat? They're going to hire who? Who are they going to hire? I mean, it's crazy.
I don't know how you bring a guy in there. I mean, the only thing, and this is looking forward. I was like, well, who would they bring in there? Would they up Stabline? I mean, they love him up there. It'd be like the Dabo type of situation where he goes from wide receiver coach to the head coach. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. All right. EJ Holton wants to know how we feel about the ACC not selecting one of the offensive linemen to first team All ACC. I mean, Matt Lee probably should have made that cut. He's an older guy. Not Manoa. I mean, at right tackle, he had ups and downs as any true freshman would. I mean, Ez Cooper had a great year, but those guys probably are a year away from that.
Right, next year they'll have 3 of them on there. You'll see.
Yeah, and I think they played well. They actually it's better offensive line play than we saw the last couple of years. So
by far.
And like you said, the Lee kid is older, and maybe he deserves an opportunity. But it's all voting. It's all subjective. It's almost like, hey, you don't want to put too many guys on there from one squad, or who knows what the criteria is.
That might be it. But we got McCoy coming back. He could play the left tackle. He's real good.
I tell you what,
we have Sampson who could play.
I was really impressed with what Mirabal was able to do with those guys this year. Just think if they were worse, I don't even know if we'd be having some of these conversations. I mean, the whole team might be transferring. So they kind of, because they were able to play better than decent, I thought they played good. Not great, but almost great. Almost, a little bit under that. But because they were able to do that, they gave us a chance. They truly gave us an opportunity.
And they weren't hurt. They didn't lose anybody this year, which is knock on wood. But now next year, and Leon has told us a couple of times, you need time to gel as a unit.
Yes.
The offensive line more than anybody. And they have 12 and they'll now have 13 games under their belt as a unit. They're only going to replace one guy. So they should be much better next year than they were this year.
And that's scary. And that's scary. But that's, you bring in some other guys, you build depth. Remember, talked about depth. You build depth. You win championships, or you get an opportunity to be a champion.
Look at the D-line from back in the day. Again, I want to keep referring back, but it's true. They would start these guys, all of a sudden they bring Jimmy Jones in. Are you kidding me? The 3rd-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys. So there was no drop-off. That's the way it used to be.
That's what I mean, that we were able to just reload. I mean, you got guys coming in. I mean, at some point, that was a backup. And all of a sudden he comes in and, he's maybe backing up. I'm not sure. Maybe he was backing up C's. I'm not sure. Mark Caesar. But he comes in and he's young and he's doing things and he's getting experience. And, again, it goes back to the guy behind you is just as good. Right. My first year starting, I had Kevin Williams behind me. So what did I have to do? I had to show up every day and get better. Because I couldn't allow him an opportunity to get on the field.
Yep. Yeah, but again, the point that you made is the depth. They need depth.
Yes.
And they don't have it all over the field yet. And they brought in like 8 or 9 DBs.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are really that good. They don't have a true lockdown corner. They used to have a bunch of guys that are relatively the same. They brought in Devontae Brown. I thought he was beaten a lot this year. The younger one, Damari, he's pretty good. He has a couple of pass interferences. But at least he's in the guy's face. He's right around the receiver. They could work with a kid like that. But the rest of the guys, I wasn't that impressed. They need another true lockdown kid. I don't know much about the freshman, Gary may know, Stafford and some of these other guys. But
they needed work. They needed the time. Hopefully in spring practice they'll start showing a little bit. But it was a good move.
I thought Porter played better than decent. He gave us an opportunity. At times I was worried about Davis. I think that's 22, right?
Yeah.
I was a little worried about him at times, but for the most part, he held up. I mean, he's not overly tall kid, but he made some plays. He got beat sometimes, but he made some plays. Obviously, I think our main problem was safeties being a little too greedy. So maybe with these new safeties in the bowl week, maybe we might see some better safety play.
Yeah, and then there was the time when they played North Carolina, and that one receiver had 3 touchdown passes, and Jaden Davis was on him on the last one, and there was no safety over the top. Now, that's not the kid's fault. You should have this guy got 2 bombs, and now he's going out there. He's got isolation up with Jaden Davis. Come on.
Right.
Put a safety over there. So I don't know if the safety was supposed to be there and went the wrong way. I don't know that, but still.
Well, I could tell you this. I could tell you this. University of Florida fired their secondary coach. You know, the guy had one of the DBs had about Corey Raymond. Guy had about 3 or 4 pass interferences. You got him on an island out there. I mean, he's going against guys that are going to be drafted. You know, and that's unfair to them. You know, you got 2 guys that are going to be drafted, and you got a guy there that's young. He's just doing what he can do, and you get some penalties, but you know, for the most part, you still got to get the ball in the end zone. Yep. And you know, that's unfortunate for those guys. But again, it's kind of like what Dennis Lopez said. College football has changed, man. You know, whether it's guys that don't want to sit anymore. I'm coming in and playing. Back in the day, we would say, "Oh, I want to come in and play as a freshman." And then you kind of get there and kind of feel it out and say, "Oh, maybe I should just take this red shirt and kind of figure it out." But these kids are now like, "Oh, you didn't play me? I'm gone. I'm gonna call Temple or Rutgers or somebody." And maybe for some of the higher recruits, the 5-star guys or 4-star guys, they still have the connections at some of these schools, and who knows? Maybe they can get back on to some of those high-power Power 5 schools.
Mm-hmm.
All right, LT, let's take a moment here and take care of some business. I'm going to start out by first letting everybody take a glimpse at the new CaneSport.
Welcome to CaneSport. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
And we've been telling everybody, where'd Bruce go?
I don't know. Bruce usually fills in because he likes to show up. Maybe he's going to change. Maybe he's going to put on like I have this beautiful
a CaneSport outfit.
Yeah, CaneSport outfit.
You know, we've been telling everybody about CaneSport all year. It is the largest cane store that's ever been created, and no better time to check out CaneSport than now with holiday shopping season here. They'll be having all kinds of specials that they'll be bringing forth for everybody in these next couple weeks as you shop for all your significant others. Load them up with Cane stuff by going to CaneSport. They have pretty much everything you could want: T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets, sizes for men, women, kids. They'll even dress your pet. So if you want some Cane stuff, and Lamar's got a ton of it now after doing this show at CaneSport the whole season, he's got all the best looking stuff. And tonight he decided to dress it up with that nice jacket, that Hall of Fame jacket that he's got. But show everybody, is that a polo or a long sleeve?
No, it's a long sleeve, man. This is
long
nice.
Sleeve, man. That's a nice looking shirt. Yep. It's, you know, the best.
Yeah.
I like it. So LT picked that up at CaneSport. It's from Adidas, and so no matter what you need this holiday season, get yourself on over to CaneSport. They're at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. That's 2655 South University Drive in Davie, right next to La Spada Sub Shop that usually feeds Lamar, but he's not at the CaneSport store, but he's still got the card right there. So you can check out La Spada's, really the best cold subs in town, I'll say. There's plenty of places where you go get hot subs, but La Spada's got good cold subs. And CaneSport is always open at caneswear.com. So 2655 South University Drive in Davie and caneswear.com for all your Miami Hurricanes shopping needs. All right, LT, tell everybody about the Florida Beach Bowl, which is coming in a couple weeks. It's started by former Cane AC Tellison. The moment is coming up quick.
That's right. Now they even have the team. So I'll tell you the teams afterwards. South Florida, are you ready for a highly anticipated Florida Beach Bowl scheduled for December 13th, 2023 at 7:30 at Dry Pink Stadium in the city of Fort Lauderdale? This inaugural event showcases historically Black colleges or universities, HBCUs, from the SIAC and the CIAA football programs, battling it out on the sun-drenched shores of South Florida. This bowl game It's all about uniting and showcasing Broward County as a whole. In addition to the main event, the Florida Beach Bowl is hosting a golf tournament, which I will be playing in, a 5K run, a community concert, and various special events, all designed to engage and uplift our community. For more information, visit www.floridabeachbowl.com. And the teams are, when we talked about this before, Johnson C. Smith and Fort Valley State University. How about that? So they're going to bring their bands down and probably have a battle of the bands type deal. I'm still mad with Bethune-Cookman for early in the year for not bringing their band down. I went to the game just for that. Didn't want to see that beat down.
All right, and we also got to talk about Life Athletics, Life Fitness in Cooper City, and this whole life fitness mindset connection thing all started when LT's wife used to come home. She told him, "Hey, honey, I'm going out and working out." And he said, "Sure, go ahead, have a good time." Everybody loves when the wives are staying in shape and the whole thing. And she'd come home and she'd have bruises all over her body, like
CrossFit.
She was all beaten up, and she was doing CrossFit at Life. And now here they are, a sponsor of the Lamar Thomas Show, and his wife is no longer getting bruised. She's delivering the punishment, LT.
She's on top of it now. She's on top of it. All right. If you feel a little uneasy about getting back in the gym, being a little nervous about CrossFit, Life gives you 3 free trials to try it out. My wife, like we said, she went and tried it out, and she got hooked on it. And every workout they modify it for your specific ability, so you don't have to feel a certain way about coming in trying to keep up. They got some experienced trainers in there, and they know how to deal with experienced athletes or maybe even non-athletes. But they do a good job over there. I see a lot of people over there working out. It's in Cooper City. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to bring this point up. 8 out of 10 that are in there are women. So for all you single guys, might be a good place to go work out. I'm just saying.
12330 Southwest 53rd Street in Cooper City. Heck, if you don't want to work out, just go park in the parking lot and watch the ladies coming in and out there at Life Fitness. Not a bad idea for, not everybody wants to go get their butt kicked, and especially by ladies, man. And let me tell you, Lamar's wife, she sees you, she's gonna lay one on you now. She's not going light on you just because you walk in there and profess to be a friend of LT's. Like, this is like,
she's trying to win. She's trying to win those. They work there. They do stuff on the weekend too. So she's like, "Oh, I'm going to do this CrossFit thing." I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. They get into it now. She sends me tape on it and everything. They do a good job over there.
All right, and then we got the law firm of Ratson and Faxadomo, sponsor all year of the Lamar Thomas Show. You see their phone number, 305-600-3519. Lamar, if anybody gets in trouble, they just got to call Mickey, right?
That's right. I've known her a long time. They do a heck of a job down there. They got to read. I've been reading it the whole year, but I'm telling you, if you got any issues in South Florida, this is the law firm to call, especially down south. 305-600-3519. They won awards because they're aggressive. They are aggressive. They get a lot of stuff overturned. They do everything to make you feel comfortable, because it's not just you, it's your family also. But they won awards for their law firm and all the professional stuff that they do. And one of the things they do well, they defend a lot of college students. So if you have a son or daughter down south and you need some help, this is a number that you need to keep in your pocket. 305-600-3519. They do a great job.
All right. And if you need a car, LT, where do they go?
Williamson Cadillac. That's where my guys are. Mr. Ed Williamson had been part of the UM family for, it seems like, forever. And it's just like you go down there and he's part of the family. The coaches are there. I think they lease cars to almost every coach. We even have Jermaine Chambers, who played at the University of Miami. He's down there in finance. He started off as a car salesman. He's moved up the finance. He's working his butt off, but it's a family environment. They do a great job down there. Have great service. I tell you that. One of the things I enjoy about Williamson, going down there, you get in that service department. They have a lot of stuff to do down there. You continue to work, but they do an awesome job of keeping you entertained, giving you stuff to do. Great car salesman down there. And also, now, if this old school Miami, it's down by the old Fuddruckers, way down US 1, down by the old Fuddruckers. If you know where that is, you'll know where Williamson Cadillac is.
Yes, sir. All right, LT, we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to bring on a guy that everyone's going to remember from the days when the University of Miami actually threw the ball to the tight end. Tight end U was born and has carried itself on for many, many years. This year took a little hiatus, but we're confident that the tight end will be back, and it especially will if Coleman Bell has anything to say about it. Coleman, welcome to the Lamar Thomas Show, man. Good to see you again.
Good seeing y'all. Thanks for having me.
CB, my main man. Hey, last week we had on two of your boys. We had Ryan and Spence. I think it was last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. But we had your roommates on.
Those my college roommate. Yeah,
there you go.
Came in together, and we stayed together for all 5 years.
We talked about that. We're going to talk about that a little later. But you know what? Again, on the Lamar Thomas Show, I like to start it off with why did you come to the University of Miami? Because you were a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah.
And Jefferson, Tampa Jefferson, the Dragons, right? Are they the Dragons?
The Dragons,
right?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tampa Jefferson, you were a hell of a basketball player. I knew all about you because I was from Gainesville. We came out at the same time. I knew who you were, but why, being such a great athlete, did you make the decision to come to the University of Miami?
Man, it was just something by UM. I got recruited from all over the country, and I took my visits. But when I came down to Miami, I knew Maurice Crum. He was from Tampa. Bernard Clark was from Tampa. So Maurice Crum was my host. And it was just something about the swagger. When I watched them on TV, I liked the way they talk noise, how they dance, and just the whole aura. So I knew I wanted to go to Miami. Funny story is, I wanted to go to Miami. I hadn't heard from Miami. I heard it from all the schools around the country, and I had heard from Miami, and I'm like, man, why Miami's not calling? So I actually put together a highlight tape doing PE. My head football coach was my PE coach, so he let me go and make a highlight tape. I sent it to Miami, and Dave Wanstead called me. He recruited Tampa, and he said, we knew about you. You didn't have to send a highlight tape, and that's how the process started. And I always knew from day one I wanted to go to Miami, and it turned out to be a great decision. Now,
what other schools did you go visit? Because we always the guests, they always have some great schools. I mean, you recruited by the University of Miami, but there's some great schools, some great decisions you had to make. So put us in on some of those schools.
Sure. I went to I toured the country. I went to Iowa because they use the tight end. Yeah.
So you were gonna be standing up, dog?
Yeah, I went to Iowa. I went to the University of Minnesota when they had like Ricky Foggy back then. It was a recruit out of Tulane that just hooked my mom, and my mom fell in love with Tulane, and she wanted me to go to Tulane. And so I took a visit to Tulane. I took a visit to Georgia Tech.
I think we all went to Georgia Tech. I think we all went to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I did the Florida schools. So I was moving around, and I wanted to see the country, see what it's all about. But when I came to Miami, I felt at home, and I knew Miami is where I wanted to be.
Who were your hosts when you came to Miami?
Mo Crum, and then I knew Bernard just from being in Tampa.
Right.
And so Maurice was my host, and he showed me a good time. He was from Tampa, Hillsborough, so I kind of knew him and knew Bernard. And so it was a great fit. And interestingly enough, I had to have back surgery my senior year. So I had signed my scholarship at the University of Miami. I had a herniated disc, and I had to have back surgery. And Miami was great about it. They just said, have the surgery. When you come down here, you can rehab, and we'll make sure you're ready to go. So that took place, and I set out the first year, of course, red shirt, and then got my strength back from the back surgery, and that was good to go after that.
You know, we came in together, our class. We had a lot of great players in that class. Well, I can tell you this: you might have been probably the best basketball player in that class.
No.
You was fire in that CSR building. Up all those people, Coleman Bell set some scoring records in that CSR building, even with a bad back.
No, we had a lot of great athletes, man. That was a great thing. Miami did a great job of recruiting. You know, Jimmy recruited us, and then fortunately he left after the first year, and Coach Erickson came in. But man, we had a lot of athletes, a lot of guys, and not only you sit on the football field, but you sit on the basketball court. When you go in there, you see guys jumping out the gym and how they play hoops, man. It was just unbelievable when you see the talent that was at the University of Miami that was recruited from around the country.
You talk about that freshman year where we redshirted and we had to play on scout team. Whew, boy, we had to live through it, man. It was you know, we went from they kind of threw us off a little bit with that first week when it was just us going against each other. We thought we were still world beaters until all them big boys came in. What was that like, man, mentally for you?
No, it was quite an experience to go from high school to that level of talent at the University of Miami. And the coach, you know Coach Johnson, man. Jimmy Johnson was something else, bro. I remember when we was freshmen, we was standing on the sideline and they had to run 110s. And he said, I want y'all to come out and watch them run 110s. And we was out there watching. And then he said, well, why don't y'all jump in? And I think he gave us 6 110s. And we had to run 6. And but he was something else, man. It was good to that first year to play under him and see all the talent we had. You know, I mean, that's when Walsh was there and Cleveland Gary and we had some talent. So it was good to come in and kind of get acclimated. I don't know about you, but I'm glad I redshirted my first year because I wasn't ready to play on that level when I came in with that talent we had. But to see the talent and to see the work ethic, that's one thing that I learned my first year is that when I was in high school, man, I could coast in practice because I was so much better than everybody. But when you get to that level in college, every practice is like a game. Like you fighting for your position. You got the best from around the country, and you can't take it easy. You gotta go hard. So I learned how to practice that first year in Miami. That you really had to step your game up in practice if you want to get on that field on Saturday.
Speaking of, after that first year, we had old Dennis Harrison come in. Now, what was your thoughts of Dennis when we all were kind of shocked. We all were like looking at each other like, what next? But what was your thoughts of Dennis coming in?
Well, when Coach Harrison came in, I really enjoyed his offense. It was wide open. It was a spread offense. They threw to the tight end. So I thought it would be a great fit. He was a really opposite of Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson was really buttoned up. Coach Johnson was a mean son of a gun, man. He was something else, bro.
It was business.
Yeah, he was a mean son of a gun. And Coach Erickson was kind of opposite. So, and I knew we had the talent. We just had to put it all together. So, I was pleased. And then Coach Dave Arnold was my tight end coach. And Coach Arnold was the tight end special team coach. And he was really a laid-back guy, really good to get along with. So I thought it was a good transition. And ended up working out well, especially for me in the tight end position.
You know, there were a lot of guys that were there, Randy Bethel, Joe Moore, those guys, Chazinski, you were able to sit behind those guys and kind of learn and figure things out. And when you got your opportunity, man, I hated to hear 74 wide delay in the huddle because you took advantage of that play, boy.
Yeah, man, we had so much talent. I was glad I was able to fit in. When I look back on my career and I look back at the numbers, I didn't realize I had over 1,000 yards receiving, over 70 catches. And, when you look at yourself and High C and Spence and K-Dub, and we had just so much talent. And you had the running backs with Steve and Donnell and Larry. So it was so many mouths to feed. And to put up those numbers in 2 years, because I had to wait my turn behind Chud and then Randy Bethel And then finally, the junior year, I got an opportunity my junior and senior year. So to put up those numbers and then to have, Gino throw me the ball, to have Coach Erickson, call my number. And it was really a great experience. When I look back on it, I was like, man, it was a good choice. It really was. And it was good offense for me. I fit well in it. I wasn't a 280-pound blocker. I was a receiving tight end. And that system fit me really well.
You talk about the being able to sit, but you made your mark. You made your mark when you got your opportunity. And one of the greatest catches, I think, one of the greatest and most important catches I've ever seen in my life was that catch you made against Florida State, man. That was that was amazing because the game was on the line. We needed to play, and you stepped up to the plate and kept it going. And we don't win that game without you making that catch.
It was one of those things, man. It was I always tell anybody who would listen, Florida State had more talent than us. I mean, I told Dan Footman that after one game. He came up to me after one game we played. He said, man,
why'd you lie to him like that? Why you lied to him like that?
No, they used to get the top players out of the state of Florida every year. But we had that heart, man. We had a will to win, and we wasn't going to lose. And in that game, we were just going back and forth. Our defense played great, and we would drive, but we couldn't score. And it was a close game. It was nip and tuck, and they called a wide delay. And Florida State did a good job. I blocked, and then I was supposed to slow release out, and they did a good job of having a corner sit there. And I think
it was Errol McCorby. I think it was Errol McCorby.
Yeah, I think so. And he just sat there, which was smart because usually when the tight end block, he probably his eyes go somewhere else. But he sat there, and I made eye contact with Gino and just kind of just took off upfield. And luckily, Gino trusted me enough where he just threw it up. And he threw it up, and I knew we needed to make a play. And I just went up for it like a rebound in basketball. And made that play, and it kind of jump started our offense. I think we ran like 2 more runs, and then High C made that great 4th down catch, and then we scored after that, and then that was the first of the wide right. So it was an opportunity to make a play, and that's what we do at Miami. Somebody needs to step up and make a play, and Gino trusted me, and I went up and snagged it, and it kind of got the offense going, and the rest is history. We ended up winning that game, I think 17-16. And so it was kind of it was great because, the 2 years I started, I never lost to Florida State. We beat them both times. So it was kind of it was a good feeling.
You talk about being a pass catching tight end. You kind of set the standards because years after that, what do we see in the NFL? We see guys that's what they do. So you were kind of ahead of the game because you think about the tight ends we had before that. We had the Chuds and we had the Pigses, we had the Randy Bethels, guys that could sit there and block. And not saying you couldn't block, but you ran better routes because I would say, and they might be mad at me, especially Bear, you were a better athlete than some of those guys. You weren't a D lineman coming over playing that position or a linebacker. You were a tight end, wide receiver / wide receiver in high school. So, and when you watch college football today, you got to be proud because it really wasn't, there weren't guys like you. They were all big blockers.
No, I mean, I wish I was born a few years later. I probably would have stuck in the NFL a little longer and made a little more money. But yeah, I think my high school coach tailored the offense to fit me. And then when they made the transition to Coach Erickson, he had that wide open offense that really incorporated the tight end. So it really fit me. And, with so much talent around me, they couldn't, double me. And they, a lot of times if they cover me one-on-one, I figure I could beat one-on-one. That no linebacker or safety could cover me. So it was a good offense for me to be in. And when I look back now, and I see kind of all the pass catching tight ends, I was like, man, I wish I would. I've been born a few years later, but it was a good ride. It was a good, really a great, 5 years at the University of Miami.
Now, we talk about, and we've been talking about this for a long time about how tough practice. Every guy that's come on this show, they talk about the practices at University of Miami made us better for the games. I mean, you're going out there, you're going against Michael and Darren and Jesse, and of course, when Rohan got out there, we killed him. But you're going against the best.
Yeah.
I mean, but then that propel you for Saturdays. What'd you think on Saturdays?
Oh, it was easy. I mean, on Saturdays. I mean, other than like the Florida States of the world, everywhere else was it was pretty easy. I mean, when you face the number one defense in the country and the way those guys could run and they could cover and how physical they were. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at just the list of people that we practice against, the Cortez Kennedys and Russell was there, and then Mike and Darren and Jesse and then Lucky Charm was at safety, Darrell Williams. So we had so much talent. And the great thing, it was so competitive. Like our offense wanted to beat the defense wanted to beat the offense. And so, they always say iron sharpen iron. So we went at it hard, and it made us better. And then when we got to the game on Saturday, it was like a piece of cake. It was a cakewalk because we had already faced, the best defense in the country. So those practice was legendary. And like I said earlier, I had to learn how to practice, full goal, like game intensity. And then it made Saturdays a whole lot easier for me.
We talked about before when Coach Harrison first got there, and we scrimmaged our defense, and they gave us hell. And we go up to Wisconsin and just explode. You remember, it was almost like, man, are we any good on offense? It was a tough sled, and we were like, man, I don't know if this offense is gonna work, because definitely didn't work against our defense. And it kind of showed when we went up to Wisconsin, like, okay, we are pretty good.
No, with going against that defense. And then I think we had to learn the whole, it was like a zone offense concept where it was like kind of gap, and you had to have proper footwork when you're blocking. And then, we had so much talent that I think Gino had to kind of get used to the offense and who to throw it to in the open guys. So I think it took time for us to gel and kind of get the system. But when we did, it was it was all hands on deck. It was a great experience. I remember when the hurricane came that year, and we had to practice, and then we went up to Iowa and beat Iowa that first game after the hurricane came, and it kind of showed our grit and our resolve. And I tell anybody who will listen, like my junior and senior year, I think we had won like 22 or 23 straight games, and we were we were a juggernaut. And I think if we would have took that Sugar Bowl serious, if hindsight is 2020, and we would just go down there and take it serious. But when you win that many games in a row, you kind of think you could just roll the football out and you can win games. And, we weren't focused. And Alabama beat the heck out of us. But, man, our junior and senior year to win 20-some straight games, man, we were quite a team, and it was a heck of an experience. And I hope Mario gets us back to that point where we back to that dominant Miami team like we were.
Hey, I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Gary.
With Lamar as a teammate.
Oh, geez.
How many moments did you have throughout your career where you felt like, how in the world am I ever going to get a football?
Oh, man. You want to know a quick story about Lamar?
Yes, I absolutely do.
So our senior year, going into the last game of the season, I was leading the team in receptions. I was the leading receiver. Lamar went to Gino and somehow convinced him to freeze me out so Lamar can get all the catches in that last game. I think it was like San Diego State. And I ended up getting probably 1 or 2 catches. I think Lamar probably got by 8 or 9, 10 catches. He ended up overtaking me for the leading receiver. And he looked back and he admitted it. He was like, yeah, man, no tight end couldn't lead the team in receptions. So I had to work with Gino to throw me the ball. So that's LT. They were in cahoots, and they didn't want a tight end to lead the team in receptions. So
okay, let me tighten up the story a little bit. Okay, there was me going to a certain person and saying, hey, man, I thought this was wide receiver you. What we doing here? I I mean, he was getting these 74 wide delay. That's why I said every time they called that play in the huddle, I was like, man, come on, man. But so there was a little, but I needed 5 catches to break the record, not to lead the team in receptions because we were close. But I needed 5 receptions to break Michael Irvin's record. I think that's what it was. Maybe it was 6. So it wasn't about me beating you. It was more about me getting that record because I was so close, and it was a blowout. But in the meantime, obviously, of course, you were the leading receiver, and that's one of the reasons why when you were talking earlier, it came and dawned on me that we didn't have the stats everybody else had because we split the ball so much. I mean, I don't know how many catches you had. I think maybe I had 40-something, 47, and maybe Hassie had 47. I mean, and that senior year, it was like we were all splitting time,
Yeah, I had like 40, 43, somewhere like that. But yeah, we had so much talent, and man, with K-Dub and Spence and you and High C, and then the running backs, man, we just had so much.
Hey, and don't forget, don't throw out, and we talked about this earlier in the show, we had depth. So you had Chris T. Jones, you had freaking AC Tellison, you had Jonathan, the Afros trying to steal their catches. I mean, it wasn't enough footballs to go around,
No,
So there was a little truth to that story, but it was, I can tell you this, and this is something that definitely needs to happen. You should be going in that Hall of Fame at the University of Miami. That's how important you were to our program, especially those. We had a pass catching tight end that caught passes, and he dominated. And so there is no reason why you shouldn't be going into the University of Miami. Obviously, it's all subjected to whoever votes. But I'm in, but you definitely should be in, and you should have been in probably even before me because you're that type of player. You changed the game, and you look at now at what these guys are doing. That was you. That was you. Now you might not have had the same size as Gates, but you were like Antonio Gates, but you were just as athletic as Antonio Gates.
No, I appreciate that, and when I look back on it, I'm just happy that in certain opportunities when I go back and look at the games in big moments, I was able to make a play to help the team. I remember Florida State in '92, our senior year. It was like fourth quarter, it was like 3rd and 5, and they called a little out route. And every time I see Derrick Brooks, I mess with him because he was the linebacker covering me. And I ran a little out route, and I got the first. And then like 2 plays later, you beat the guy for the go-ahead touchdown. So those little things I remember, and I'm like, man, it's good when your team can count on you and you can make those plays at the pivotal point. So it was a perfect match. It was a good opportunity for me. It was a good 5 years, and especially the last 2 years, it was really a great ride, and I enjoyed my time at
Now we talked about Spence and McNally, Ryan McNeil, being your roommates, and they all talked so highly of you. What do you think of those guys? Tell us what you thought of Spence and old McNally.
Oh, I love those guys, man. We were all cut from the same cloth, and that's why we got along together. We were roommates on campus, and then when we could go off campus, we got a room, a townhouse together, and we were close, man, because we were all kind of the same. We all, put academics first, and we all kind of just put our head down and work, and we wanted to be the best and succeed. So I don't talk to Spence that often, but I talk to Ryan a lot. Matter of fact, I was supposed to come down to the Louisville game, and Ryan was going to meet me down there, and we were going to hang out. So those guys, man, I couldn't have found 2 better roommates in my 5 years at the University of Miami, man. It was a great pleasure and honor to be roommates with them. We had such good times, and we got along. We never fought. Yeah. We never had any issues, and man, we just had a great time together. It was a great 5 years rooming with them guys. I love them to death.
When I think of great roommates, I think of that room because you guys hung like thieves. I mean, thick and thin. I mean, you guys were always together. Obviously, Spence had the car at first. Yeah. The only car, the CRX. We talked about that last week. Everybody even though Snasty got to sit in the CRX, everybody obviously he had to clean it out, maybe Clorox it a little bit. But He had the car, and then I think you had. Let me make sure I got this right. Did you have the red Toyota Camry? Was it red?
Corolla.
Maroon. Corolla.
Toyota Corolla. Yeah, I had a Toyota Corolla, and it got broken into probably about 5 times in Miami. But it was it was a good, reliable car. I never wanted a car because I come from a single parent. My mom was a school teacher, and she just couldn't afford it. So I said, "No, don't waste your money." And she's like, "Nah, you got a scholarship. I don't have to pay for you to go to school. I want to get you a car." So my sophomore year, she bought me a car, and I'm like, "Mom, don't let the repo man come down to Miami and get my car. Make sure you pay on it." So I remember,
We'll kill you in the locker room. We'll kill you in the locker room.
It was like $10,000 for that Toyota Corolla, but it held up, man. I kept that Toyota Corolla to my 3rd year in the NFL.
Wow.
And finally, my 3rd year, I'm like, I think I'm going to stick this year, and I'm making a little money. I traded it in and got a Lexus. But, yeah, Spence had the little CRX with the system in it.
Yes,
and
everybody.
But we had a great time, man. We had a good. It was a family environment, man. It was I couldn't have asked for, like I said, better roommates, and somehow they paired all 3 of us together. We had Terrell too, and but he left and transferred. I think he went to Florida. Yep. So it just became the 3 of us, and we stayed together for all 5 years.
Now who had the room by themselves when TJ left? Was it you?
No, we had a was it?
No,
me?
we had. It was 2 and 2.
Yeah, it was 2 bedroom.
And I think you did.
Who had the bedroom by themselves? I don't know. I forget.
Hey, you can tell the real secret too. Let's be honest. There's something I want to ask you about. What was in Ryan's briefcase every day? Because I don't think it was books in there. I think Ryan was just screwing with us. He had a briefcase, Gary. He would walk around campus like he was the smartest man in America. I think, tell the truth, it wasn't nothing in Ryan's book bag, was it?
I don't know, man. McNeese is something else, bro. He's he was something else. We between Spence and his shenanigans, man. And his shenanigans, and then Ryan, man, we had a great time together, and especially when we moved off campus, we got a 3-bedroom townhouse, and man, we had a really good time. We didn't have no problem paying bills, fighting over food or nothing, man. We just kind of clicked, all 3 of us, and we got along well. So it was really, great roommates. And when Ryan went to the league, and I used to go out and visit, and went to San Diego when he was out there with the Detroit. So it's been a lifelong friendship with those guys, man. It was really great to have them as roommates. It was great 5 years in Miami, man. If I could rewind the hands of time, I'll go back and do it again.
You see all these players today getting this NIL money, man. And for how many times did people ask you, "Oh, I know y'all getting paid down in Miami"? I mean, they always threw that up at us. But when you see all this NIL money, you got to just be shaking your head like, man, and to hear that now you have a son like you, and we thank you for coming on the show tonight. Your son had a basketball game tonight. What school is he at now?
No, he goes to Jefferson, same school. He wanted to go to the same school I went to, and he's strictly basketball. He didn't play football, so he's year-round basketball.
They're giving out money in basketball too now.
The NIL money, man, it's changed the game. I don't know how long they're gonna let them guys keep making that kind of money, but man, right now they're killing. They're doing well. Only money we could make is during the summer. We could work, and I used to work at a law office during the summer, but man, it would have been a totally different story if we could have tapped into that NIL money, man. Just when you're in college, you broke anyway, so just to
$35 a weekend.
Yeah, just a couple $1,000, man, would have been crazy. And then some of the top guys like Shador, he's killing it, and so obviously we were born at the wrong time, and these guys now taking advantage of kind of the blood, sweat, and tears that we went through back in the day. So God bless them, man. I wish them well, but I sure wish that NIL was there. When we
wouldn't have had that red Toyota Corolla, I'll tell you that.
No, I would have had something a little better than that. We had it, but
I guarantee you Ryan would have had a Tesla. No doubt about it. I could see him outside with the directions on how to plug the thing in, I can see Ryan with a Tesla.
Well, the great thing too, man, we were so dominant that I think all of us would have ate. You know, I mean, when you the premier program in the country, and our junior and senior year, we win 20-some straight games. I think we would have all, you know, been able to take advantage of that NIL money. I mean, Geno won the Heisman our senior year, so that would have counted for something. So it would have been awesome to get those checks and not struggle as a college student, but we were born too soon, and luckily for those guys, they're taking advantage of that situation now. And I wish the best for them.
The struggle made us closer. The struggle made us closer.
Yeah, it did, and I mean, we wasn't poor college students because the weekend check money helped, and then the off-campus check helped. Yeah, the off-campus check they gave us help, so we wasn't poor, but the NIL money would have really came in handy. We would that would have been some good little money to help out. But you know, it is what it is. We had a good time. It was a really great recruiting class we came in with, and man, I think we put our mark on that program. If you look back at what we did junior and senior year, really is unmatched. And I wish we could have capped it off in the Sugar Bowl and went back to back, but it is what it is. I think our record speaks for itself. To lose one game in 2 years, and that one game was our last game in the Sugar Bowl, I think it's pretty impressive.
You know, when you look back on your career, and you look back at all the time, you know, we spent there on Green Tree. You know, what thoughts do you have when you look at this program now and how it's been going over the last couple of years and where they are now?
You know, it's tough watching the program struggle. It really is. It's tough to see 5 losses. I think we lost 4 or 5 games in 5 years. Yeah, 5 years while we were there. And then, like I said, our junior, senior year, we lost 1. So it's tough to see the program struggle. But I think because Mario came in with us, he came in our recruiting class, I think Mario knows the Miami way, and I think Mario will turn it around. I think he's a couple years away. He's getting good recruits, and so I think we'll be back, maybe not to where we were before, like a dominant force, but I think we won't let the North Carolinas and, you know, these Louisvilles and these teams beat us, you know, I mean, Georgia Tech and, like, you know, those guys, man, we would have been out of halftime on those guys. Like we would have been sipping Kool-Aid with our shoulder pads off in the third quarter against those guys. So I think Mario will bring the program back. I think he knows what the program needs, and it's tough to watch now, but I think give him a couple years, I think we'll be back to the old Miami, the old U.
Well, I tell you this, man, it is so great to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while, bro. You got to come back down, man. I know you were supposed to come back to Louisville. We were looking forward to, you know, seeing old CB and talking about the old days and just so many great memories, man. But it was awesome for you to come on the show, and we definitely appreciate it. And I come out to Tampa, man. Definitely take my call, man. Don't egg me now.
No, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I'm gonna get back down there. My son is year round, and I coach his travel ball basketball team, so he takes up a lot of time with basketball. So I'm gonna get back down there, man. Me and Ryan gonna come down there and hang out. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's always good to reminisce on the old Miami days and catch up. And it was a great 5 years of my life, man. And hopefully these Canes get back to where we were when we were there.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. And oh, by the way, when I came to Tampa, boy, your brother used to hit me up relentlessly. That was my guy. But thank you so much, man. Tell everybody I said hello, man. And it's so great to have you on. And I appreciate everything. You know, classmates and a brother for life. Cane for life, my brother.
All right, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
All right.
Great seeing you, Coleman. All right, let's bring the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, back and kind of pull this whole night together here, guys. So,
just a quick comment. I think I know who broke into his car. If you look at the comment section, there's like 16 in a row. I think it was Delvin Harris.
It was Sweet Nasty.
Yeah,
That's who it was.
He's commenting on that. He's throwing him under the bus, so he must have been the one that broke into his car.
Sweet Nasty was upset. He couldn't use people's cars, and so he made sure it come out your tires flat and all kind of stuff, man. I really truly look back on it and think it was him doing that.
Yeah, it was him.
Kelvin Harris, if you don't know who Sweet Nasty is.
Yeah, go.
All right, so before we go, let's talk about bowl game for a minute. Mario values the bowl game, Lamar. You know, he makes it very clear we are not, you know, going for like a little vacation to get our butts kicked. And you know, the way so many of these Miami teams over the last 10, 15, 20 years have, you know, just gone to these bowl games and been totally disinterested and, you know, laid an egg, for lack of better description. Mario wants to win whatever bowl game they get assigned here this weekend. And is that reality, LT, with all these guys that aren't going to be playing without your top two quarterbacks? How do they rally the troops here and go play this bowl game?
Well, you know, it's the culture. You know, he runs a very tough program now. You know, he's a no nonsense type of guy. You know, from coaches on down, got guys running around from drill to drill. I mean, it's just different than it was, and he's trying to bring that old school mentality. If you're not good enough, or you don't want to be here, get the hell out. You know, he wants guys that want to be out there competing every day. But that was us. I mean, things have changed, so it's trying to sometimes beat a new horse, because a lot of kids don't want that. They're so used to, like Coleman said, you come in as a freshman. Before, you were used to coasting, doing the things you want to do, and now you got guys saying, "Nah, we don't coast." You know, and he's trying to turn it up in practice, so it's not a country club. And for a lot of these kids, they can't take it. So for him to say, "Okay, we're going to get extra practice, and we're going to take advantage of these extra practices. This is what bowl time is about." And for some of you guys who want an opportunity for next year, this is a great opportunity for you to show what you can do. And on top of that, it's going to make you a better player. You know, and that's what bowl practice is for.
And they also don't have a senior-laden team. So a lot of these guys have played all year, and they're not going anyplace.
Right.
Well, the great majority of the players that are going to be eligible to play, not the ones declaring for the draft or declaring because they're leaving, we still have a lot of those guys that have played all season. So the quarterback is one thing, but the rest of the guys for the most part will be there, and they should be fired up to play in this game. It's important to them because the jobs are on the line all across the board. You know, there's a lot of competition. So I don't want to see them lay an egg, and I agree with him because I've traveled. How many times did we go to Orlando, Gary, and we lost? Louisville beat him. Louisville beat us. This team, Wisconsin beat us. I'm sick of that. You know, I don't want to see that anymore. Yeah, you know, remember the game they played Notre Dame in Texas, and Al Golden showed up and he was in the booth and we got slaughtered. It was embarrassing. I don't want that anymore. We got to play hard.
And then let's just touch on recruiting. The coaches hit the road on Friday, basically a 3-week blitz to signing day, a little less than 3 weeks. LT, you've been a college football coach for many years, and what is this moment like here for these coaches now as they get ready to go try to close on a recruiting class?
I mean, this is something that's you know, this is year round for these guys. You know, this recruiting has come a year round deal. You know, this is what some of these guys are there for. You know, your head coach, he puts a lot of stock in recruiting. So, you know, they're hitting the road. They're trying to do what they can. And for some of these guys, it's not saying that they're bad recruiters. Sometimes it's the area you get. You know what I mean? If you get a bad area, it's not a hotbed of recruiting. You can't be considered a bad recruiter because sometimes you're a good recruiter. And then sometimes the bad recruiters get in there to a hotbed and they don't do the good job, or they do the good job. I mean, it's a crapshoot sometimes.
And they wind up with Lamar Jackson.
There you go. There you go.
Well, you know, it is a year-round. It wasn't bad. It is year-round, though. I mean, you know, you look at this Justin Scott flip from Ohio State tonight. I mean, you're talking about they've been recruiting that kid probably 8-9 months. For the last 4 months, they've had to like re-recruit mom and finally get to the point where mom gave her son the blessing to go to Miami, and which he wanted to do all along. I mean, every recruiting battle comes with its own challenges. And
Gary, I can tell you this: as a recruiter, your main focus is to identify the decision maker. And once you identify that decision maker, you could care less what the other person says. You're all about making sure that decision maker, you have to identify that person. That's the person who's going to help you seal that deal. If you don't talk to them, then you ain't sealing the deal. You got to figure it out. And sometimes it's the kid, sometimes it's the dad, sometimes it's the uncle, the drunk uncle that's out in the garage is talking crap about you. And then it's the mom sometimes, so you have to identify, and that's who you have to go after.
Gary, anything that you could tell us about possibly flipping Blunt from Florida State, or it's something that you just don't know?
I mean, that's always going to be a possibility, but that kid, I don't see it. I don't see them putting the effort in there. I mean, he's rubbed too many people the wrong way, from the way he handled the flip to Florida State to coming down here and, kind of like making a joke of being at a Miami game. I don't see them putting the effort in there and worrying about that one. They're doing plenty well in other areas and getting Justin Scott and other guys. So I don't know. I personally don't think that'll happen. And
I tell you this, for a lot of these kids, they don't understand. And I told a couple of them, hey, don't play the games, man. This is your opportunity to grow up and be an adult and be upfront. Don't play the games, because you're messing with our livelihood, the coaches. And check this out. I could see you somewhere else. Your name could come up on the board somewhere. Don't want him. So be an adult, do it the right way. Don't play the games, and enjoy your recruiting process. But, like you just said, that guy screwed his chance of maybe coming back to Miami because playing the games. And a lot of these guys, they get this opportunity and they screw themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these parents could use that seminar before it all starts as well. I
hear that Cormani McLean's not so happy in Colorado, which is not so hard to believe.
Man, I can't imagine them taking that kid back. I can't even think about Mario going and taking that.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. The way he acted,
the way he handled
it, that wasn't the correct way. If he handled it a better way than that,
then he has a door open.
I told a kid one time that was at Cardinal Gibbons, a receiver. We were recruiting him at Louisville, and he was like, hey, coach, I'm going to let you know next week on signing day.
Right.
No, you're not, because I'm going to start recruiting you right now. Because guess what? This ain't going to be my last job. And if I'm in the pros or another school and I see your name, I'm going to make sure we don't want you.
Right.
And guess what? A couple years later, he was transferring.
And, Brandon Innes at Ohio State is an example of a kid that handled his business the right way. Right. If he called up Miami right now and said, guys, Mario, coach, I realize now that I made a mistake. I got, I should have come to Miami at the beginning. I would love a second chance. I think they would take him with open arms.
What about a kid like the defensive tackle that went to Texas A&M last year?
Shamar Stewart. He's another one. Yep. Now he's getting his defense. He's getting Elko back, so I don't know. He may stay, but he's another one. That he didn't handle his business poorly. He got a deal from from Texas A&M, and he took it. And if they called up and said, "Hey, I'd like to come back," I think they would consider it.
Hey, the big question I got: did his high school coach get a deal too? Because he seemed like he was more excited.
He had a handler, yeah. He had a handler who absolutely got a deal. There's no doubt about it.
Hell, he still might be out in Texas A&M, College Station.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys. Well, great show tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see how all these things play out. And you got recruiting, you got the bowl game, you got.
So we're going to know what Sunday night, what bowl game we're going to.
Should know by Sunday, yeah.
By Sunday, and we probably should have a bowl review, and then it goes out.
Yeah, we'll take a look at what's going on. We'll figure it out. We'll probably come back and do one more show at some point here this season, for everybody.
And then on Wednesday next week, we'll already know it'll be after whatever the date was, the 5th or the 6th. We'll know guys that have declared. So we'll have
Yep.
more to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot going on here the next few weeks, and it'll be exciting to watch and see how the Canes do. So let's thank everybody. Thank Coleman Bell, for starters, for coming on the show. But we got to thank all of our sponsors. CaneSwear, of course, the largest Canes store ever created at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. It's holiday shopping season. They'll have all kinds of specials for you. Make sure you get yourself on over to CaneSwear if you live locally in South Florida. If not, you could shop at caneswear.com. Make sure you buy all your Canes friends and family members some Canes gear for the holidays this year from CaneSwear, and they got a little bit of everything: t-shirts, jerseys.
I have everything.
Hoodies. Yeah, exactly. Like if you want it, they got it at CaneSport. So make sure you check them out. We got to thank Williamson Cadillac, where LT goes and buys all of his great automobiles. The Florida Beach Bowl, December 13th at Drive Pink Stadium. First year of that bowl game for historically black colleges, and it's being run by a former Cane, A.C. Tellison. The law firm of Bratson and Faxadomo, where everybody needs to go immediately if they ever get in any kind of trouble and need some aggressive representation from a couple of skilled criminal lawyers. They will hook you up for sure. And then Life Athletics, Los Spadas, yes. And Life Athletics, where the guys can go get themselves in shape in an environment that is unmatched with CrossFit with all the ladies. Basically, the ratio is, what do you say, Lamar? Like 8-2, eight women, 2 guys.
Eight women.
Don't forget, LT, I'm single now. Ask your wife to make sure I get bruised up if I go there.
Yeah, man. All right. You just go, Bruce. Right on over there. You know where it is over there in Cooper City. You're familiar with the neighborhood. Oh, and thank you everybody for watching tonight and being part of the show throughout the season. Stay tuned. We'll have another show for you guys at some point in the next few weeks. So for Bruce, Lamar, I'm Gary. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.